I must have made over 300 litres of this relish over the years, no exaggeration. It is sweet, spicy and just an amazing condiment. I started making it 12 years ago when I had my own cafe. Customers raved about it. I served it with bacon and eggs on sandwiches, with savoury muffins, and I used to do a really popular ciabatta roll with pot roast and relish. So today I'm going to share with you the recipe and the technique. The main reason I'm posting this recipe though is that my brother-in-law has requested it. He lives in Germany and has visited us a few times over the years and always remembers this relish. So here you go, Andy, this one's for you. I make this tomato relish in bulk. It lasts over a year in sterilised jars or in the fridge, but to be honest it never lasts that long. And I give it away to people and it makes lovely gifts. Feel free to halve the recipe. I'll put both quantities in the description. So I have 4.5 kilos of beautiful red ripe tomatoes. The riper the tomatoes, the nicer your relish. First step is skinning the tomatoes. Now I find the easiest way to do this is to just cut off the smallest slice of the core end of the tomato, and then I place the tomatoes cut side down on trays lined with baking paper. I put the trays into a moderate oven for about 20 to 30 minutes until the skins are a little crinkly and soft to touch, a bit like your skin after a hot bath. When the tomatoes are cool and easy to handle, the skins slip off really easily. Then I pile all the tomatoes in a really big pot. Next I take 1.5 kilos of onions. I peel them and then I slice them in half and then into fairly thick half-moon slices. I place the onions on top of the tomatoes. I don't stir. I then sprinkle over 1/2 cup of salt and I don't stir. I put the lid back on the pot and leave overnight at room temperature. The next day, I drain as much liquid as I can from the tomatoes and then discard the liquid. I then add 1250 ml, which is 5 cups of white vinegar, so it's barely covering the tomatoes. And I put the pot on the stove. I bring it to the boil and then I add the same amount, 1250 grams, which is about 5 cups of white sugar. Don't worry about the sugar content, it's a condiment. You're not going to drink it, and this recipe makes heaps of relish. So I bring it to the boil, stirring until the sugar is dissolved. While I'm waiting for it to come to the boil, I mix together 3 big tablespoons of mustard powder, 2 big tablespoons of curry powder, and 1 heaped teaspoon of cayenne pepper. When the relish has come to the boil, I stir in the spice mixture. I bring it back to the boil and then lower the heat and simmer for between 1.5 and 2 hours. But it'll probably only take 1.5 hours. During this time, I skim off any scum that comes to the top. It won't affect the taste if you don't, but the relish will look nicer and be clearer. After about 1.5 hours, the relish should have reduced by at least 1/3. If not, gently simmer it for longer. Then I make a corn flour slurry. You can use plain flour if you want, but I like using corn flour. So 3 or 4 good tablespoons of corn flour mixed with a little water until I have a smooth paste. And then I slowly add this to the tomato relish, stirring all the time. The relish should thicken a bit, and then I simmer it for another 5 to 10 minutes on a low heat to cook out any flour taste. And that's done. Now if you want to know the easiest way I know of sterilising jars, I get some clean jars and I rinse them under tap water until they are wet. I place the jars and the lids on trays and put them in a very low oven until all the water has left the jars and they are nice and dry, about 20 minutes or so. Now it's really important that hot liquid goes into hot jars. So I make sure my tomato relish is still quite warm and I ladle it into the jars. I've misplaced my oven mitts, so I used tea towels, which was a bit messy, to be honest. I put the lids on the jars as best as I can while everything is still hot, and when the jars have cooled down, I just tighten the lids and give them a good wash under the tap water. The quantities I used today made all these jars, plus a big container for the fridge for Mike and I promised a lovely lady some relish, so I'm going to send some off by post. The jars of relish make lovely gifts. I hope you enjoy this relish, and thanks so much for watching. I'm very grateful. See you next time.